Destroying another anti-social security fallacy. The hits just keep on coming, man. It's fun. The minute you open your eyes to some biases in conservative economics, you'll find lots of work you can do as well. That does not mean I'm a Stephanie Kelton, was a guy named Wayne Mosher, modern monetary theorist, not in the least. But I call them like I see them, man. And when conservatives fall for fallacies, it actually makes me more angry because I expect it from liberals. Liberals just don't think very deeply. We know that. We know liberals aren't deep thinkers. I expect conservatives to be. And so when conservatives and they do this a lot, don't get me wrong. Conservatives, oh, NASA, it's so great. And before COVID, oh, the CDC is so great. The Department of Defense is so great. Like, how can you be conservative, wanting small government, say we need more to NASA, more to CDC, more to the DOD? It has never made sense to me. It's crazy. All right, so let's go into this. So there's a guy named Martin Feldstein who died in 2019. And the reason this came across my readings because who was it? Was it some libertarian rag? Lou Rockwell, I can't remember. They said, thank you, Martin Feldstein. They gave a thing in 2019 of his passing. I have no animosity towards the guy or anything like that. He was big in the Reagan administration. He did a lot of damage, though, actually, when it came to people thinking on Social Security and the fear that is inherent in people's ability to retire because, oh, my goodness, Social Security. In terms of the savings rate, we're not at the savings crisis. They always say, there's this huge savings crisis. I'm looking at my book here. Yeah, what savings crisis? Exactly. So we get all kinds of stuff. The savings crisis. We're not saving. It's freaking stupid. And a lot of that's premised on Martin Feldstein. Social Security savings and Social Security and private saving, new time series evidence. An important article in the Journal for Political Economy, Martin Feldstein in 1974 estimated that the introduction of the Social Security reduced personal savings by as much as 60%, which had serious consequence for capital formation output. It's just so freaking blindingly wrong, dudes. So if we didn't have Social Security, we'd have more capital output, we'd have more investing. Are you freaking nuts? It's idiotic. His conclusion was based on a consumer expenditure function estimated with U.S. time series data and incorporating a Social Security wealth variable of its construction. This paper presents new evidence that casts considerable doubt on Feldstein's conclusion. All right. Fallacy was seriously flawed as a result of a computer programming error. And the paper that we'll see is right here. My man Dean Limer and Selig Lesnoy at the Social Security Administration. So we're just going to read real quick. In a recent article, the JPE, Limer and Lesnoy, hereafter referred to as new evidence, we present a new time series evidence that casts considerable doubt on earlier evidence presented by Feldstein, which implied that Social Security had a large and statistically significant negative effect on personal savings and thus capital formation and investment in progress. Our results may be summarized as follows. First, the Social Security wealth variable used by Feldstein was seriously flawed as a result of a computer programming error, which Feldstein later acknowledged. He said, it wasn't me, it was my programmers. Simply correcting this error substantially changes the estimated effect of Social Security on savings. Second, the statistical evidence depends on assumptions which are embedded into the construction of the Social Security wealth variable. We went to the moon. Why? Because we said we went to the moon. Okay. The Bible is true. Why? Because it says in the Bible. Okay. Now, if you're a free thinker, that's not enough. You need more. I love Jesus. I don't need the Bible to confirm for me that I have a relationship with God. I don't. The Bible helps me with that, but you can't just sit there and say the evidence is the Bible when people who don't believe the Bible are like, that's not evidence to me. You see what I'm saying? I don't believe what Feldstein wrote. Well, the evidence is right here. Yeah, and Feldstein's writing. I don't believe he went to the moon. Well, the evidence is right there. And NASA's photos. What? They don't even have a photograph of the Earth? The blue marble? What? And lots of telemetry data? What? We don't have information on the initial lunar module? Kind of weird. I'm just saying, the biggest event in the history of mankind and we lost the data? What? The biggest event in the history of mankind. NASA lost the data. Yeah, that's kind of weird. They recorded over it. because they really had to get those episodes of Friends. They said, well, man, we got to get these episodes on Friends on file because they might never be seen again. You're recording over Neil Armstrong's telemetry data. No, we don't need that. Oh, boy. All right, simply correcting, we already talked about that. The statistical evidence depends on assumptions which are, we already talked about. These assumptions relate first to how individuals form their expectations about Social Security benefits they expect to receive and the Social Security taxes they expect to pay. And second, to estimates of the number of workers, dependent wives, and surviving widows who will receive benefits. Adopting reasonable assumptions that differ from those used by Feldstein leads to generally weaker estimates of the relationship between Social Security and saving. Finally, the estimated relationship between Social Security and saving is acutely sensitive to the period of the estimation examined. We concluded that the time series evidence simply does not support the hypothesis that Social Security has substantially reduced personal savings in the U.S. Feldstein responds, blah, 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 and I think I go into it right here. Our findings may be summarized. First, Feldstein's results are sensitive to revisions in data. If we re-estimate the consumer expenditure function using Feldstein's revised Social Security wealth data, because they fixed it, in conjunction with recently revised national income data for the other variables, the estimated Social Security wealth coefficients are smaller and no longer significant for any period. Any period. Then they talk about Feldstein being misleading and stuff. Look, right here. Currently, modeling this provision yields weaker and insignificant results. Feldstein's characterization of the 1972 amendments is incorrect, and his 20% adjustment procedure is inconsistent with the actual post-retirement price indexing provision of that legislation. Modeling this provision yields weaker and insignificant. So basically, they said we're going to have a cost of living adjustment Social Security. It's not going to be an act of Congress, which makes it more valuable to us. We're not relying on our legislatures. Stop. It's in Social Security adjustments are in the law now, not relying on the Congress. And as such, modeling this provision yields weaker and insignificant results relative to Feldstein. And the hits just keep on coming. I could read this whole thing too, but I found it very interesting nonetheless. All right. Our conclusion remains that the time series evidence does not support the hypothesis that Social Security has reduced private saving. End of story. All right, so let's just go over this one real quick. Again, Feldstein says that between 50 and 60%, you reduce your personal savings by 50 or 60% because of Social Security. Crazy. All right, hold on just a second. We'll show you something else here. I'm clear. Feldstein is what's the word I'm looking for? A well-known scholar in right-wing academic circles. I mean, he's not not Josh. Martin Feldstein is well-known. I think he was like the chief economist for Reagan, if some memory serves. You can look it up. I mean, this isn't just some low-level friggin' idiot, friggin' AOC from Boston University. This is a big deal, and he played a huge role in legislation. And yet, he was basing his stuff on wrong data. It's so doggone frustrating. All right, so this is from the Harvard Crimson in 1985. Feldstein's arguments that was individuals' expectations of receiving Social Security benefits would encourage them to reduce their personal savings by 50% for each dollar of the Social Security they expected to receive. All right. Feldstein told students in December 14th lecture that the future Social Security benefits are a clear and direct substitute for private savings. But we are privately saving for Social Security, Martin. It's called FICA. I pay 6.2 as the employee. I pay 6.2 as the employer. That is private savings. And that the magnitude of this is an observable question. And so basically saying this is definitive. The magnitude of it might not be 50, but we need to observe. We can observe that. It's freaking so stupid. But a number of economists aren't so sure. After that lecture, I presented students with a range of evidence that showed Feldstein's estimates to be at the high end of the range, says some guy. Another guy says Feldstein presented a figure as a consensus view and as something that arose out of evidence. I told my class that different people had found different numbers and no hard conclusions could be made from the data. Lawrence Lindsay. Oh, there's Larry Lindsay, the anti-Trumper. Anti-Trumper Lawrence Lindsay used to be a beacon on the right, you freaking clown. But you got bought out hook, line, and sinker by the globalists. What they got on you, Larry Lindsay? What do they got? You freaking clown. these guys, they got bought out by the globalists. This is where I cannot stand the right-wing economists. They're all globalists through and through. Screw that, dude. I'll freaking take my politics from Noam Chomsky before I take a right-wing globalist any day of the week. And I can't stand Noam Chomsky. Yeah, that guy's a clown too. Hell. Anyway, Lindsay says all section leaders free. I don't know what that means. Free to say in class they think. Okay, I don't know what Larry. I care less what Larry Lindsay says. Go pound sand, Lindsay. You know you probably need to be in Guantanamo, frankly. All right, let's keep. Fallacy argue that an introductory course should concentrate on mainstream view that students can learn all. An introductory course should concentrate on the mainstream view promoted by the Chicago boys. That's the mainstream view. Why? Because we so say. And alternative economic models can be looked at later. Where have I heard that before? Maybe in medical science and epidemiology, whatever that word is, for vaccines. I want students to learn what I call the consensus view, where the vast, vast majority of economists are. Where have we heard that? Frickin' Martin. All right, so here's Larry Summers. Once a student of Feldstein, I don't think the evidence either way is absolutely conclusive. But, says Feldstein, there's a controversy about any theory, but it's consensus. It's consensus, yeah. Feldstein, who returned to Harvard last year as serving as Reagan's counsel on economic advisors, has been criticized outside the university since he published his findings. And here's my man Selig, Lesnoy, and Dean Leimer. Feldstein says Leimer's and Lesnoy's criticism of his data and model do not detract because they said, Feldstein's like, yeah, my numbers are, it's kind of like the hockey stick with Michael Mann. They might be bad, but we know that CO2 is causing massive heat waves. We know it. We know CO2 increase in the parts per million in the atmosphere is causing all the kinds of destruction. It probably caused the earthquake in Turkey. My math is wrong, but that's okay. Can we see your math? No, you can't see my math. Okay. And also, by the way, appeals to authority. I'm not alone in my view. The facts that a lot of different studies have come to similar conclusions from quite different kinds of data make it all more convincing, just like we had with that, if you know what I'm talking about, the J and the, you know what I'm talking about. The jury's definitely out on how Social Security affects savings. All right. Anyway, so the point being is, the right wingers aren't going to go down without a fight because they do control the economics field of the majority of economists. That's a fact. Because the Phillips curve is so freaking stupid. That's why I said the other day, rescind Paul Samuelson's Nobel Prize. Because it's dumb. It's dumb. It's stupid. It doesn't work. We all know this. The idea that Social Security can be affected, savings by 50, even Feldstein later on came out and said 60%. Dude, if your models are wrong from Jump Street, then I don't trust a damn thing you say after that, dude. I don't. Get your models right. Get your models right to begin with. And if your models are wrong, you're like, yeah, but now it's even worse. And the evidence isn't there. It's just not. Now, in terms of correlation and causation, could you say, Josh, you're not saving as much because you expect to get Social Security? Yeah, that's true. You know why? Because 12.4% of my money is going to the IRS already to pay for my Social Security benefit, Martin Feldstein. I'm not saving enough? How much more do you want, dude? Can't stand anti-Social Security bigots because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. No different than all these other guys, dude. They don't think. They want to push a globalist agenda to get Wall Street in charge of everything. There's one thing I like about the left is they don't want Wall Street in charge of everything. I mean, they want now look, they want to be in charge of Wall Street to be in charge of everything. The right just says, get me money, get me chicks, I'll let you do whatever you want, Wall Street. Just get me money, get me checks, and we are good to go. All right. We'll see you.